Hi lovely people! Today I will show you a nice and easy technique that gives a surprisingly good result. For work, I take watercolor paper. I took an inexpensive one to see how it works, and professional watercolor paints. I also plan to repeat the same technique on plain paper using a school watercolor set. We'll compare the results and decide whether it's necessary to buy expensive paper and paints for this type of artwork. Prepare your outline drawing. You can also find an image online, get a printed copy and trace it with a pencil. For convenience, I fixed the paper with masking tape. If you decide to make any background, then start with it. But you can also paint the fish on white paper. It's up to you. You might draw a very creative background. I'll show it at the end. And if you paint a background, then wait until it dries before starting to paint the fish. For this watercolor technique, which I show today, you need ordinary plastic wrap, which we use for food. Prepare it in advance, cut it about half a meter and put it carefully somewhere nearby. The technique is very easy and can be used to create beautiful gift cards, especially if you use textured watercolor paper. Start coloring the fish. It is important to remember two aspects. Firstly, work quickly enough so that the watercolor doesn't have time to dry. Therefore, for the first time, take a small size drawing. Secondly, mix more paint. It should be quite liquid but rich in color. It is desirable to paint in 2 or 3 different colors, flowing freely into one of another. Then the result of using this technique will be more interesting. Make the drawing bright and saturated and do not let the paint dry. Follow the outline of the drawing, but don't try to do it perfectly. This technique doesn't require exceptional care in painting. If there is playfulness in performance, it's better for the result because it is such a fun and lively technique. When the whole fish is painted and the paint is still wet, quickly take the prepared plastic wrap and apply it to the picture, making wrinkles. It is necessary to carefully press the film to the picture. It should stick to the entire surface where there is paint. And it should now be completely dry. This can take somewhere from 30 to 50 minutes depending on the paper and how dry and warm your room is. When the paint has finally dried, carefully remove the plastic wrap and get an unusual surface texture. Since I use this paper for the first time and it is inexpensive, I see that it absorbs some of the paint and the fish is a bit lighter than I expected, and the texture is not so expressive. Therefore, later I will try to repeat this technique on very high quality and expensive watercolor paper, and will look and compare all the results. The last stage of work is editing and finalizing the picture. You can strengthen the texture of the tail, finish some elements, draw an eye. You work on those details that you consider necessary to finish, but be careful not to completely cover the texture that the plastic wrap application technique gave. Watercolor should be transparent just to enhance the effect, not to obscure it. Develop the drawing a little to make it look finished. Now I am repeating this technique using plain but thick paper and a school watercolor set from stationery. The paper is not watercolor but quite thick. It is about 180-220 grams. We don't have dark blue in this watercolor set, so I mix colors to get them more saturated. Be sure that you use a palette. This will allow you to see if the color you mix is good before you put it on paper. I remind you again that it is better to color the fish using several different colors. Now we again take the prepared and cut plastic wrap and, forming wrinkles, apply it to the picture and press it well. Wait again until it dries, then carefully remove the plastic wrap. Let's see what we got on cheaper paper. And here it turns out that the work is even better because this paper did not absorb the paint and we can see pretty good texture. So it turns out that you can also get good result with an ordinary school set on ordinary thick paper. Now we finish this fish with the same colors and with the help of a brush. You can make some areas a little darker, more intense, draw an eye, add volume, etc. I hope that you enjoyed both the work and the result. And this is an example of coloring the background around the fish in a more picturesque and artistic style. You can try it later when you feel comfortable with this technique. And let's compare the results of using the technique on different paper. And this one was on cheap watercolor paper that I like less. This one was made with the ordinary school set watercolor on plain paper, and this one was painted with professional paint on very good quality, expensive watercolor paper. All three results have their own advantages, and you choose which paper and which paint to use depending on your creative task. I believe you enjoyed this video, and if it is so, like it and subscribe. Until next time.